Today, I'm going to show you how I organize unstructured ideas for Notion templates that I want to sell into fully realized projects with the sub-items feature. Then I'm going to show you how I create intuitive checklists for those newly structured projects. To convert my concepts into realized project checklists, I'm going to use the sub-item, and the other is dependencies. So these are both relatively new features, and I wanted to go over how they're going to help you with your project and task management in the program. So if you saw this update and sort of ignored it because you didn't really know how it worked or how it could help you, this video I hope will help you understand the feature and how you can use it practically in your workspace. Let's just get right into it. So this is my template manager. This is where I am planning and housing all of my digital products. Those digital products are Notion templates. What I'm basically going to do is eventually publicize all of these pages for people to duplicate into their own Notion workspace. So every one of these pages in this database are individual digital products. And each one of these digital products has a few different elements inside. Now, we're not going to get into this. But what I do want to show you is a database I created at the bottom of this manager page where I am turning all of my ideas for Notion products into realized actionable tasks. So I have different tabs here in this database, and we're going to recreate this together, so don't worry if some of this doesn't make any sense. But the first tab I have is conceptualize. This is where I'm conceptualizing everything. I'm jotting down ideas for templates. And then I'm going to the realize tab where I'm turning all of those ideas, all of those projects into outlines. And I'm using the sub-item feature for this. So you'll notice in the About Us project right here, if I toggle this toggle down, I have a ton of different subsections of this template that I want to work on. And what I'm doing is I'm outlining the About Us project and sort of brainstorming in this section. I'm referring to my handwritten notes that I've uploaded into Notion. If you're curious, I use the Concepts app for iPad to draw out concepts. So I'm referencing this, and I'm also thinking of new ideas if they arise, just like a bulleted outline where you brainstorm ideas. Now, all of these sub-items within the About Us project can also have sub-items. So I have a section for origins. I have a page section for what was achieved. This is an About Us team page. All of the companies this team worked with. And then I have a section in this template for team directory. I also wanted to brainstorm ideas for this team directory database. So what I did was create even more sub-items. Same goes for this office locations database. I wanted to break this idea even further as well. So that's the gist of sub-items, and we're going to go over how we can create outlines like this to brainstorm project ideas with this feature. Now you'll notice I am in a table view. Sub-items are only viewable in tables. I have other properties here. So not only can I outline, but I also have a notes section over here. I have a type select property, so I can outline with pages, but I can also add a little bit more details. And of course, I also have a checkbox property, so I'm turning this outline into an actionable task list. As I click away all of these sections, as I get them completed for this project, you'll notice that the progress ring next to the About Us project is filling out. Same goes for sub-items. That ring will be full when all of its sub-items are checked off. Now, once everything is checked within this project, it will fill all the way to 100%. And that gives us a nice progress indication. Some other things you see here is date. So this is going to be the work time for each project, and then I am giving it a sprint. That sprint select property is just a drop-down menu of different sprints from 1 to, I think I'm on 15 now. If I have a ton of projects I want to work on, as you can see by this list up here, there's a lot. I want to put them into sort of work buckets where I'm working on a group of specified projects, usually 1 to 3 projects at a time, and I'm grouping them under a certain sprint. You'll notice in Conceptualize, this view is grouped by those sprints. So I'm looking at all the projects in each column by sprint. And then over here on the right-hand side, once a sprint is completed, I am just hiding it. So let's say that sprint 13 is completed. What I can do is go to the menu here next to sprint 13 and just hide it. Now, if you're curious, I don't just use this for outlining my digital products. I actually use this to value my digital products as well. Now, we're not going to get into this for the recreation, but I do want to share that. So for each project, you'll see this property called sug price. It's suggested price. So it's important for me not only to break down each template so that I can get it done quicker, but I also want to value each section of the product. The last section I have here is for analyzing. And this is really just looking at all of my projects in a timeline view. And all of my projects are connected to each other, or at least some of them are, as you can see by these arrows here. And these are called dependencies. Also kind of a new feature which we're going to recreate. If I take a look at my resumes project, it is connected to 2 other projects in the future. Now, the reason why I'm making this connection is because I want to remind myself that the About Me project and the Job Search project cannot be started or completed until my resumes project is completed first. In other words, the About Me project and the Job Search project are dependent upon resumes being completed. Again, we'll go over this when we recreate this table. In fact, let's recreate that now. There is a link down in the description below where you can follow along with me. So let's pretend that we are creating this project planner and we have 3 different ideas conceptualized. There's some handwritten notes here for 3 different projects. So with this information, I'm going to create a table. So I'm going to say /table to get a database running. Let's select that. And I'm going to create a brand new table. Click the new database button. And let's rename this to task or maybe project planner. The first thing I want to do that I usually do inside of new databases is hide the title via this button here and hide database title. First section we're going to create is actually creating that realize section, the outline. So I'm going to rename table here to realize. I'm going to change the icon to my database view, maybe to brain icon. Great, so inside of our database menu, we have layout options. Right now, we are working in a table. What I want to do here is actually hide my vertical lines and open pages in. I'm going to choose center peak. I do prefer this option. Great, so now that the layout is figured out, I'm going to add the first 2 projects that I want to work on, About Me and also the Job Search project. So we've got 2 projects in here, and what I want to do with our default tags property is actually convert this. So I'm just clicking on the title, going to type. I'm going to change it from multi-select to just select. And I'm also going to select that title and rename the title to just type. About Me, I can just select inside of the cell here is a template. So what a select property does is give you a drop-down menu field. So I'm going to create our first option, template. If I click below, we now have that template option to choose from for job search. The next property I want to create is a done checkbox, and that's by clicking this plus symbol here at the top. Scroll down to checkbox here, and rename it to Done. With checkboxes, I can adjust the width of the column all the way to the left, and we can get this nice narrow checkbox. Next, I'm going to create another property called Date. And with date properties, I can actually change the date format. So in this case, I'm going to change the date format from full date to month, day, year. Great, so now we have our basics. I'm going to add a date for About Me project. Let's say I want to work on this from the 15th of February to the 17th. To create a date range like that, I'm going to select End Date down here, toggle that on, and then select the 17th for the end date. For job search, maybe work on this between the 20th of February and the 22nd. What I want to do now is break down these projects into sub-items, start outlining. To do that, I'm going to go to the database menu and go to sub-items option down here. Select, and you'll notice in the preview window, we have something that looks like an outline with toggles, parent item with sub-items underneath. And what Notion is giving you is the ability to create these relationships via this menu. I can rename sub-items to sub-parts, and then maybe rename parent item to just parent. Let's create. And what you'll notice is that the table now has two new relation properties. I'm just going to go ahead and hide these, hide in view, and hide in view. And now a gray toggle will appear next to each project. I can just toggle that down and create a new sub-item. So I do have some concepts up here that I'm going to reference from. I have an introduction section, and I can give this a type, maybe section. I also have a roadmap database. Give that a different type. So now we're sort of explaining each part. This is a database. Skills is a section of the template. And then I have portfolio database. Now, what I also have is a footer with a bunch of different elements inside, and I do want to break that down. So the next sub-item will be called the footer, and I want to break down this sub-item even further so that grade toggle will appear even next to sub-items. I can toggle that down and create another task, resume sub-page, and links. I've turned this idea for a digital product into a realized project that I can now check off like a checklist. And then toggle them away. I can do the same thing with job search. Now, what I can do to enhance this outlining process is to create a notes property. So I'm going to create another property here that is a text property called notes. And then maybe convert this page into full width now that we have a bit more properties here. Go to full width and toggle on. So we have some notes that we can jot down. Maybe for About Me, I can write some notes like how I want to package this product and job search as a console template. This will help contextualize each part of the outline. You'll notice that text styles also apply to text properties like bold, and I can even highlight certain text in here. Now that we've converted these ideas into realized projects with a checklist, what I want to do is focus on the task management aspect of this outline. Firstly, I'm going to create a select property called Sprint, this plus button again, and select the select property. And when I go to create this select property, I can even add options directly inside of this database menu. Let's add Sprint 1 and press enter, and Sprint 2. I can also change the color of these options via the menu to the left-hand side. Let's just make both of these light gray. And what I like to do is assign sprints just to the projects. So let's make About Me project sprint 1 and Job Search sprint 2. I use sprints to group 1 to 3 projects at a time into set sprints. This just really helps you manage a large list of projects you want to tackle. Now that we have these checkboxes, I also want to add a progress ring. So I want to indicate how far along each one of these projects is. To do that, I'm going to create another property called a rollup. Just select that plus button again, scroll down to rollup. Rollups essentially just grab information from relations. So we created a relation earlier via the sub items option. What we're going to do is use one of those relations to roll up the progress of our project. And I'm going to rename rollup to progress. In this configuration block, I can choose the relation I want to roll up. In this case, subparts. And then I'm going to choose the property, done. And then calculate the percent checked. That will give me a percentage. I can then come down here to show as number, bar, or ring. In this case, I'm going to show as ring. I can also change the color of this ring from green to maybe blue. And I can also keep the number here, the percentage, or I can hide it. And I'm just going to adjust the width of this column and then drag progress over in front of checkbox. As I tick away all of these sub items in my About Me project, that progress bar will fill up. And in footer, if I have all of these sub items done, footer will have its own progress ring. Now what I want to do is create a board view, just like I have in my own database here for Conceptualize. This is just where I'm putting all my ideas. I'm going to create a board view via this plus button next to Realize. And I'm going to rename it to Conceptualize and also give this a new icon. Maybe we can give it this network icon. Inside of this database menu, I can convert from a table to board. And we have some layout options for board view. We can change the card preview. In this case, I do want to see my page content where I have those concept images. So I'm going to select card preview and change to page content. Card size, I do have as large. And then I also am grouping by sprint. So group by. And we're going to change group by type to group by sprint. You'll notice we do have About Me under sprint and Job Search under sprint 2, but we do have a section for no sprint, and that's really just all of our sub items. So I do want to hide that. If I go down to visible groups, you can see that no sprint is showing. I'm just going to select that I to hide it, and I can also color columns. Now another thing I want to do is add a sort via the database menu for date ascending. And I also have another option in my database menu to see certain properties inside of each card. I want to show notes, and that's all I want to see here, but you can select whatever works for you, like maybe the date as well might be useful. Now what I want to do is, of course, hide this title via this menu here. I can drag those concept images into these cards pretty easily. So About Me, I'm just going to drag that into this card. And then for Job Search, do the same thing. So each one of these concept images can be repositioned as well via the reposition button in each card. And I can drag that image like this to make it look a bit more consistent. Now let's say that my About Me project is done. So all of my projects under Sprint 1 are completed. I'm going to select the grayed out number next to the tag here and go down to % checked and done. That's that done checkbox. Now let's say that About Me is finished. I'll go back to Realize and select that done. In Conceptualize, we now see that Sprint 1 is 100% complete. So I can go ahead, like I said before in the tour, go to the menu for this sprint and hide. And now all I see is my active sprints. You'll also notice that there is a percentage next to our no sprint section, which is all of our sub-items. So if we wanted to quickly see the percentage of sub-items completed, we can see that here. Of course, Conceptualize, I'm going to drag this database view before Realize. Great, so what if I wanted to create a new sprint? I have new ideas and I want to add that to a sprint into the future. I'm going to add a new sprint via this plus symbol next to sprint 2 and just name new group sprint 3. And this should add a new option in that sprint select property. I can change the color of this select option as well from here via the menu. And I can add new cards quickly. So maybe I have an idea for an open positions template. I can even add some notes. And maybe another one for an About Us page. So now we have a section for conceptualizing ideas, another section for realizing those ideas. See, now we have 2 new projects, About Us and Open Positions. And I can start outlining these ideas and giving them scheduled work times. Like maybe I want to get this one done February 22nd to February 23rd, and Open Positions done February 25th to the 27th. Let's create that timeline view again by creating a new database view via this plus button. And I'm gonna rename it to Analyze. I could also name it this month because we are only going to view projects for this month in this view. And I can change the icon again for this view to maybe the gear icon. And then change the view type to the timeline view. We have unique options for timeline as well. I can hide or show the database title from here. I can also show the table to create something like a Gantt chart. I'm going to hide that though. And I'm going to open pages maybe in center peak again and press done. So the first thing you will notice is that it's not sorted correctly. So I would first go to the sort option up here and sort by date. And now we can see this cascading style. What I also want to do, you'll notice that we have sub-items toggled on in the timeline. You can view your sub-items in here, which is pretty cool. But in this case, since our sub-items do not have dates, we won't be able to view them. So I'm going to go to the database menu, go to sub-items, and just turn this off. So turn off sub-items, and then I'm going to turn off just for this view. I can also view my timelines in different ways. So I can view it by hour, day, week, bi-week, month, quarter, or year. I like viewing by week. So I can quickly view that on Wednesday coming up to Friday coming up, I need to work on my About Me project. I can also view different properties in these cards by going to the database menu, going to properties, and choosing what I want to see. So I want to see the done checkbox. Just drag that before name. And I also want to see the progress. So let's show that and also drag that before name. Great. I can also filter this timeline view to only view projects for this month or for a set date range. To do that, I'm going to select the filter button, date, and we can just select this day, week, month, or year. I'm going to select month. Nice. Now let's talk about dependencies, like I have inside of my database. Inside of my Analyze section, I have these dependency connections being made. Firstly, let's go to the Realize section and take a look at some of these projects. So for About Me and Job Search, there are two sections in this project. Inside of the footer for About Me, I do have a resume subpage, and I also, inside of Job Search, have a resume section as well. So let's say I have another project in mind that's for a digital product for resumes. What I want to do is firstly go to maybe my Analyze section and quickly schedule my resume project. And down here at the bottom of the timeline, it's as simple as selecting a new page within this grayed out area. So the 12th to the 14th. And then what I can do to rename this card is right click, go to rename, and let's rename this to resume. And maybe I don't want to work on it between the 12th and the 14th, but rather the 12th to the 13th. I can just drag this card over. Okay, so now that I have this, I can create a dependency. I can grab this arrow here and connect to any other project. In this case, About Me. And you'll see that the dependencies menu shows up. What I want to do is create a new relation just like we did with sub-items, but this time for blocking or dependencies. So I'm going to create a new relation and just keep the default names here, blocking and blocked by. In this case, the resume project is blocking the About Me project, and the About Me project is blocked by the resume project. I'm going to create that, and then I can do the same thing with Job Search. Just bring this arrow and connect it to that project. If I go into the About Me page, there is a relation here now called blocked by and blocking. Of course, it is now blocked by resume. And if I click through to the resume link, it will show that resume is blocking About Me and Job Search. Again, the projects About Me and Job Search cannot be completed until resume is finished. That is what dependencies do. I can go back to my Realize section and break down this resume template. So contact, info, introduction, skills, work history, and education. And I can write some notes for this as well. Package this as page layouts. And then assign this to sprint 1. And again, the reason why I'm selecting sprint 1 for resume is because I cannot finish About Me or Job Search until I get resume completed. So in Conceptualize, resume should be at the top here. And I can reposition this image as well. So let's say that About Me is done, and we finished those resume layouts. So resume is completed and About Me. What I want to do with this is group all of my finished projects in one toggle and then view only my active or projects that are not done in another toggle within this view here. What I'm going to do is go to the database menu and go to group. And I can select group by a certain property, in this case, done. And we have a done checkbox or an empty checkbox. I'm going to drag the done one below unchecked. And then I can also view by this grayed out number how many projects are in each toggle. Now let's clean up some of these pages. So you'll notice if we go into them, I'm going to open this resume page up as a full page. We have a lot of metadata up here at the top that we need to organize. Of course, in the body of the page, we just have that concept image. So what I want to do is hide some of these properties. I am going to drag my relations down to the bottom here and work with them in a moment. I'm going to keep the date property, drag the done property all the way down to the bottom here, and progress as well, and keep sprint at the top. So with our relation properties, I want to move these to the body of the page. To do that, firstly, let's move the parent relation. So I'm going to click the name, show as page section. So right now it's showing as a property up the top as metadata. I want to show it as a page section. And now you'll see a link to add parent here in the body. I can select that and go to this menu to the side, customize shown properties. And I want to show the done checkbox before the name. And then I want to see notes, just like that. And we're going to do the same thing for every relation. So subparts, show as, page section, and we can actually see our subparts here. Go to customize shown properties. And again, I'm going to show the done checkbox and notes. Do the same thing with blocked by, show as page section, and blocking, show as page section. And then customize shown properties one more time for each. Blocked by is down here. It's hidden because it's not blocked by anything. I'm just going to go to that customize shown option and done and notes. So it looks a bit neater. Our metadata up here isn't as busy. And then we have different page sections for each relation. Now you'll also notice this comment section at the top. This is also making our page a little bit busy. I don't really like it. What we can do is actually go to the page menu up at the top right-hand corner, go to Customize Page, go to Top Level Page Discussions, and turn that off. Here, you can also customize your page sections. So we have a section up here for all of our relations. And we can change from page section back to property and minimal from here as well. And even change the order of them that we're seeing in the body of the page. So this is what we have. Metadata at the top for our resume project, all of the subparts for the resume project that we can click away, and the projects that resume is blocking, About Me and Job Search. If I click through to About Me, because we customized one page in this database, all pages will be updated in the same way with metadata at the top and relations in the page sections. So that is pretty much how I am going about conceptualizing and realizing ideas and getting the things done. Let's go right into the outro. I hope that was helpful. All important links and key information we went over is going to be down in the description below. Let me know how you guys are using sub-items or dependencies, or if you weren't using them and how you plan on using them now. I'll see you guys next time with a new video and the rest of the week on Twitter. I'll see you then.